Good day, students. I am Agbolade OM. I want to take you through lecture 3, and in this lecture we are considering connective tissues. Origin and composition. They are mesodermal in origin, formed from embryonic mesenchyme, and they consist of a population of cells surrounded by fibers and a ground substance referred to as matrix. Connective tissues have more intercellular substances than cells. Remember what the intercellular substances are: the fibers and the matrix. The fibers are of albuminous protein in composition, and there are 3 types: reticular, which are fine, branching, inelastic; collagenous, also fine, these ones are unbranching; inextensible, inelastic, but more importantly, they are very strong and resistant to tearing forces. They are very strong and resistant to tearing forces. So remember I said that collagenous fibers too are fine, unbranching, inelastic, inextensible, but that more importantly, they are very strong and resistant to tearing forces. The 3rd type, elastic. So ones are yellow, extensible, highly elastic, and they branch and join freely. The matrix may be soft and jelly-like, as you have in connective tissue proper, firm and plastic, as you have in cartilage, dense and rigid, as you have in the bone, due to incorporation of inorganic salts. Functions of connective tissues: they bind all other tissues together, form sheaths around organs, provide the medium through which nutrients and waste products diffuse to and through the cells. The matrix and fibers form the supporting materials of the body. Classification: this is very difficult, but still some 8 types could be recognized. We're not going to look at all of them. We shall try to look at some of them. Just notice we have a number of them, including loose, adipose, dense, reticular, cartilage, bone, dentine, hemopoietic. We shall look at many of them. Anyway, let's continue. Loose or areolar tissue. Characteristics: here the cells are more abundant than fibrous elements. This type of tissue is soft, pliable, whitish, sticky, and crossed by numerous fine fibers. The soft nature is due to this jelly-like intercellular substance. The fibers are loosely arranged, and this gives room for stretch. The fibers include 1. Elastic or yellow fibers. This adds to their being elastic, the tissues being elastic, and then a network of collagen or white fibers which help to strengthen the tissue. Between the fibers is the amorphous intercellular substance. Adipose cells, macrophages, mast cells are abundant in areolar tissues, as well as some other cells, fibroblasts, fibrocytes. Look at figure 11 of the set of illustration, figure 11. How important are they? They help to support blood vessels and nerves between organs and tissues, and they penetrate organs lying between layers of tissues to form pushing system between them. This is very this is very important, serving as a cushion system between layers of tissue. Now we look at adipose tissue. This is a specialized type of cellular tissue. The cells of adipose tissues store fat, which are from excess energy-giving food consumed by humans or animals. Because energy-giving food cannot be stored in their direct form, like in the case of glucose, that which could create a lot of problems to the body. They are converted to fat, which are now stored in adipose tissue. The amount of fat stored depends on one, the diet, kind of food you eat, and then genetic factors. Those who have the genetic predisposition to store fat, when they take food that are fat, they can pull those things together to form fat, a lot of fat in their body. So very important. And storing fat is useful in the sense that when there is starvation, maybe when one is fasting, for example, the body will use the excess or the stored fat to provide energy, at least for some time, until normal feeding resumes. How do fat cells, how do they come into play? Undifferentiated, that's the next part. Undifferentiated connective tissues absorb minute fat droplets. They have that innate ability. And as they absorb the droplets, they swell up. You look at figure 12, you see it. And then later they become tightly packed, separated by small quantities of matrix and few undifferentiated cells. Look at figure 13. Fibers and blood vessels in the matrix help to provide support in this tissue that is in adipose tissue. Adipose tissue are widely distributed in the body, like in the subcutaneous part of the body under the skin. Find them around the kidneys, around the joints. And they also help, apart from helping to provide energy during starvation or fasting, they help to absorb shock around organs, more or less shock absorbers. Dense fibrous tissue. This consists of dense fibers, which are essentially collagen, which could be regularly or irregularly arranged. Most of the contained cells are fibroblasts, which form the fibers. The tissue has great tensile strength, and it is known to be associated with the origin and insertion of muscles in bones. When next you have any festival, any kind of ceremony in your family house, look at the muscles, where they are coming from, where they're entering to. You appreciate this issue of dense fibrous tissue. It forms support on joints and vertebral column. There are two main types. We have tendon and ligaments. Tendon, these ones are tough, characteristic shiny white appearance. Those parts of meat, of beef, they appear shiny white. That is tendon. And they are composed essentially of parallel bundles of fine, well-arranged collagen fibers, with some cells in between them. Soft amorphous intestinal substances hold the fibers together, as find it figure 14 and 15. Ligament is contractile, similar to tendon, but less regularly arranged. They contain essentially bundles of collagen fibers with some elastic fibers between them. Apart from the tensile strength and support which ligaments give, they have some amount of elasticity due to the elastic fibers they have. And you find them, for example, the ligament of the ligamentum buccal present in the back of the neck and other side, either side of the vertebrae. Now we go on to cartilage composition. Cartilages are dense tissues of great tensile strength but with some flexibility. The intercellular component is more abundant than the cells. The cells, chondrocytes, note that, lie in special cavities called lacunae in the matrix. The matrix is dense, gelatinous, and responsible for the physical properties of the tissue. This matrix may contain collagenous or elastic fibers. The chondrocytes form the intercellular substances via mitosis. How are they classified? Cartilages based on their fibrous content. You could have hyaline, which is translucent, bluish white, with fine collagen fibers. You find that as smooth and shiny expansion of the surfaces of bones within joints. When you pick a bone, particularly the long ones, the top, when you have shiny, somewhat bluish water, that's to tell you, it should give you an idea what I was talking about. You also find them on the vertebral end of the ribs, in the case of woman, chest portion, ribs around the chest, where you lie down, that's a vertebral portion, and in the respiratory passage, such as the trachea. Look at the trachea of that's windpipe of fowl, for example, goat, sheep. You appreciate what we're saying. Fibrocartilage, that's the third type, characterized by dense masses of collagen fibers lying in bundles in the matrix. It arises from dense fibrous tissue and found where muscle and tendons merge. Where muscles and tendons merge into a bone. As you listen to this lecture, you may have to pause it, once in a while. Look at the set of illustrations. You may have to play it back to listen at some point, forward again to be able to grasp the next 3 points and features. Okay, the next point is that you also find them in the intervertebral discs. Those are the portions on the top of vertebrae. Vertebrae. You look at vertebral column. Each of the components is a vertebra. So the disc on the top, on the surface of each of them, call it intervertebral disc. Remember your ordinary level biology. Elastic cartilage. Here, this one is more flexible than the other cartilage types. It is known to be elastic because it has abundance of elastic fibers in its matrix. You find in the pinna of the ear. It forms the epiglottis. Epiglottis is the structure that covers the ear pipe, the windpipe where you want to swallow, so that food does not get into the place. And part of the larynx. What is larynx? Perichondria. This one is very important. Every cartilage has it on the external surface. and it blends so much with the cartilage so that you find it difficult to separate pericardium from the cartilage. It has two parts, the outer fibrous and then the inner one, which is chondrogenic in the sense that it gives rise to chondrocytes by division. All right. The chondrocytes secrete lacunae and then hypertrophy. Look at figure 16. Very importantly, cartilages do not have blood vessels. How they cope? They depend on diffusion through their matrix for exchange of nutrients and waste products between their cells and the blood vessels which are found or which are present in the perichondrium. That is to say, it is perichondrium that helps to house blood vessels which serve cartilages. Minus them, cartilages cannot cope. How do cartilages grow? Remember, we're still talking about connective tissues. How do cartilages grow? Two ways: appositional, interstitial growth. In the case of appositional, new layers are added to the tissue at the surface. But remember, in the inner part of the perichondrium, remember that the perichondrium is on the outer part of each of these cartilages. Then the cell divide to produce more cells, some of which then differentiate to form chondrocytes, which later surround themselves with intercellular substance. Then the interstitial growth, here is growth within, interstitial growth within, not adding from outside at the surface. The young chondrocytes retain the ability to divide. Therefore, more chondrocytes are formed within the cavities of the cartilage. The newly formed forms, all right, the new formed ones give rise to other new ones and more what do you call it, intercellular substances. And interstitial growth is known to be limited to moderately young cartilage. Moderately young cartilage. Calcification of cartilage. This is very important. The sense that it gives room or opens the way for formation of growth. This occurs when the chondrocytes, those are the cartilaginous cells, when they increase in size for a length of time, and afterward, thereby, some insoluble calcium salts are laid down in the matrix. And immediately that happens, the cartilage stops being a living substance because it is cut off from metabolite sources. Because of that, it begins to disintegrate. And this process is very important because it is the first step in ossification. Ossification is replacement of cartilage by bone, gradual replacement of cartilage by bone. So, in a nutshell, calcification results in the death of chondrocytes, leading to bone formation. How important is calcification? Fetus, that is, growing young ones in animals and humans, most of their skeletal system is composed of cartilage, a form of hyaline cartilage. But you know, cartilage is not as strong as bones because the young ones are developing, increasing in stature, in height, things like that. Therefore, as the organism grows larger, the bone, which is more rigid, able to provide more support, gradually replaces hyaline cartilage. Bone structure. Bones are hard due to the position of inorganic salts in the collagenous intercellular substance. Unlike cartilage, bone gives room for calcification of its organic intercellular substance. without the cells die. Bone cells are called osteocytes, which are formed from osteoblasts. The tissue is penetrated by numerous anastomosis joining canals containing blood vessels. Division of materials through the matrix is impossible due to the presence of inorganic salts. Inorganic salts will not allow materials to pass through them. Therefore, exchange of material between the cells and the blood occurs through a given system referred to as system of canaliculi. Canaliculi. Just like it's some canals, some spaces, now joining together. Some canals joining together to form larger ones. Every bone is covered firmly on the surface by a vascular fibrous membrane called periosteum. Periosteum. You see that in figure 20. Types of bones. There are two types. Compact. The types of bone tissues. Compact tissue found in the outer part, the outer layer of the bones. Spongy or cancellous tissue in the interior part. Here you have an assignment, very important. And the assignment is that you study the description of the two types of bone tissue. Study them. It's very important. Okay, each bone has both types of tissues. Like I told you earlier, the cancellous line is found in the interior part, whereas the compact is found in the outer part. Transition from compact to cancellous is marked by enlargement of the avasal canals. Avasal canals. Don't be confused. When you look at the set of illustrations, you will see these issues of this canal, that canal. Just as you listen to what they call it. To the lecture, look at the set of illustrations. Again, you can pause the lecture. Look at the illustrations. You can move play the lecture back, to look at listen to some part again, forward, as the case may be. So we continue. So I said transition from compact to cancellous is marked by an enlargement of the avasal canals and decrease in the number of their concentric lamellae. The thickness of the compact bone anywhere in the body, depends on, depends on where, extra strength is needed. For example, in the shaft of the long bones, where extra heaviness, heaviness of the bone will be a problem, then you have more of cancellous tissue present, like you have in the enlarged ends of the long bones. Look at the bone of the lap of the turkey, for example. Those ends, all right, the top and the lower one, those are essentially cancellous in terms of their component. I continue. Development of bones. There are two ways through which bones can be formed. We have one, intramembranous ossification. Here, the bones are laid down directly in existing embryonic connective tissue where there has been no cartilage before. It's a fresh, new thing. No cartilage before, and yet the bones are laid down. And you have bones, so for this type of bones are referred to as dermal or membrane bones. For example, the mandibles. Those are the bones around our chin, our cheek. Flat bones of the cranial cavities, also an example. Then you have intracartilaginous ossification. This involves destruction of calcified cartilage and its gradual replacement by bone. it involves the description of calcified cartilage and its gradual replacement by bone tissue. Majority of bones are formed tissue. Majority are formed tissue. You have a reading assignment here. Study the full description of intramembranous and intracartilaginous ossification. Maybe if you want your class 1, I have some Microsoft Word material which I can send to your class, to help you. But this information are available online. Number 2, identify and explain the factors that affect bone formation, particularly in vertebrates. The last thing I'll talk about in this lecture is functions of bones. How necessary, how useful are they? 1, they form a supporting skeletal framework for the body. They support the body. If not for bones, then there will be nobody. The whole thing will just be lying down. There will be nothing to hold the body in position. Then they protect delicate organs like our brain, which is protected by the brain box. Together with muscles, bone give room for movement through their lever mechanism. If not for bones and muscles, there will be no room for movement. Dancing, jumping, walking, swimming and the like. There will be no room for that. Bones serve as a source of excess calcium in the body. Calcium is needed in the body. You always have some quantity of it in the bloodstream. And when you eat a lot of calcium-given food, like plantain, the excess is stored in places like bones. Why? When there's any drop in the normal blood calcium level, then you have part of that has been kept in the bone, withdrawn to compensate for the loss. Then in addition, last point, number 6, through their marrow, bones help in the formation of blood and then in storage of fat. We are going to talk about hematopoietic tissues later. Bones help in that, and then the storage of fat. Remember I told you about fat the other time. Part of them, some of them are stored in the bone marrow. So that's what I have for you in this summarized form. Listen to this again and again, and I'm sure you are bound to learn. Thank you very much.